Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
Hand and built leather goods. Leather goods built for life. Made by hand in the USA, all goods are made with veg-tanned leather. Some of the best quality around and made by a U.S. veteran. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
Hand and built leather goods. Leather goods built for life. Made by hand in the USA, all goods are made with veg-tanned leather. Some of the best quality around and made by a U.S. veteran. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
Hand-and-built leather goods. Leather goods built for life. Made by hand in the USA, all goods are made with veg-tanned leather. Some of the best quality around and made by a U.S. veteran. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. And one.
And welcome everybody to Sports on Tap. This is our summer spotlight. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, Noah Jacobson, and Josh Duffy is out on assignment. You've got to listen to a word from all of our tremendous sponsors. You pay attention throughout the rest of the broadcast to hear more about our sponsors. You are watching this live on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us, like us, hit subscribe at Sports on Tap. We're also on Twitter/X at SOT Podcast. Our Facebook is Sports on Tap. Our on Threads at SOT_podcast. Of course, our website is sportsontap.podcast.com. Get all the information about our show, where we're going to be, what we're covering, schedules, what have you. And then our email is sportsontap.podcast@gmail.com for comments, questions, pronunciations, suggestions, complaints, whatever the case is. We can take care of you there. All right, we're starting to rip through the high school football season here. The season starts officially in about a month and a half is when kickoff rolls around. But coaches are just starting to finish up their instructional camps, and they're getting ready for 2-a-days. A little bit different than what it was when we were growing up, but nonetheless, We're hitting up all the conferences and the schools that we're used to seeing. So last week you got to hear from Berea Mid Park head coach John Hunick and Twinsburg head coach Charles Salter, and we're lucky to be joined this week. Our next guest after this will be Jack Armstrong from Midview. We're looking forward to talking to him. This will be his second year at Midview. But next, right up on the show, we're just getting off. We're going to start off right away with the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Mentor Cardinals. Coach Matt Gray, he's starting his 5th year as the head coach at Mentor. He's been at Mentor in some capacity since 2012. 7-4 last season, but has had a lot of success in his years at Mentor. We are joined by Coach Matt Gray from the Mentor Cardinals. Coach Gray, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me on, and definitely want to get that email from you guys of having the show here. We know it's getting really close to football season, and we're definitely excited here to get it rolling.
And Coach Gray is approaching friend of show status. If he's not already there, he's been on with us multiple
times.
That's
big time right there. That's an honor and a privilege.
It is, yeah. All right. So, Coach, off season's in full force. As we were just kind of talking right before the show, we're gonna be ramping up doubles, 7-on-7s are going on, passing camps right now. How's the off season going for you? Where you're at and where you're headed before the season kicks off?
Yeah, absolutely. It's our first really full off season in our new weight room there. That is on the northwest corner of our stadium there. So we were able to get into it last summer, but it's our first full off season there, and it's been able to give us a lot more space and a lot more bells and whistles and toys that Coach Wilcox, our strength coach, is able to utilize with that. And our guys are in a really good place right now. Really pleased with how they've responded after last year. Our guys, our players, and our coaching staff know that 7-4 is not acceptable, and you have 4 losses by 9 total points. That's not okay. So there's been a lot of hard work. There's been a lot of self-evaluation and trying to improve and get better in those type of deals and in those type of situations there, so we can be able to improve our record and play up to our potential. But our kids have had a tremendous offseason. They've tacked each and every single day, and they brought a lot of energy. And right now we are in our July mini camp here throughout this week, and so we're kind of starting those acclimation process, which, like I said, it's a lot different than kind of the old ways of starting there on August 1, and you get to that Wednesday, Thursday, being able to throw some shoulder pads. You're able to kind of do that now in July, and so we kind of set up our schedule so we can start with these acclimation days and really especially get our linemen ready to roll here as quickly as possible, because those are the ones that really need that fine tuning as we get going into it, of being able to get that contact and the contact prep, and it takes a lot to be able to get those repetitions with those guys in pads, because you hold bags, you do this, you do that. That's not simulating the game action that we want to be able to have, and so that's been a major point of emphasis here for us throughout this off season, and really as we get started with our July mini camp this week.
Coach, again, looking back a little bit to last year, just kind of putting a fine point on it. You mentioned 7-4, 4 of those losses coming by less than 10 points, all of them. What's
9 total for the entire year for all 4 of those?
Oh, 9 total. Okay.
9 total. Yeah, 9 total.
Okay.
It's one of those things I haven't gotten much sleep in the offseason about. Yeah.
That's an astounding stat. An astounding stat.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I guess
it's one of those that never thought it could happen, but hey, it happened last year, and it's kept me up a lot throughout the offseason.
Oh, man, I can only imagine.
Well, and I think I lost my video feed here, but just to kind of go off my question, what has been some of the things you guys have been focusing on this off season? Like, obviously, you had that bitter taste in your mouth, but what are some of the things that you and your coaching staff are really trying to put a fine point on for your guys going into not just the off-season program, but now your guys are going into your quote-unquote preseason program?
Absolutely. When you take a look at it, it's a lot of self-evaluation from the coaching staff perspective of looking at our schemes, how we teach things, how we present it to our kids, and making sure that they're fully understanding it, fully grasping it, and a lot of the different tools that we can be able to have our kids be able to grasp the concepts and what we're trying to do on offense, defense, and special teams. And really, we've kind of made it a big point of emphasis with our kids throughout the off season, leading into August and throughout every Friday night here in the fall is the two aspects of attention, detail, and competitive excellence, of being able to really hone in on those aspects, and those fine details are the reason why you either win or lose some of those close games. And the teams that we're going to see and the teams that we're going to play in the regular season and the playoffs, they're going to be really good football teams that are going to be some great challenges. And so if you're not fully engaged, you're not being able to execute at a high level, you're not being able to do that job each and every single day throughout the season, throughout every single Friday night, you're going to have a close loss. You're going to not be able to play up to that potential. And so we took a big hard look critically of what we do and how we do things and what we do in terms of every aspect of our program, and really kind of peeled it all back and not taking that pride, or not having too much pride of saying, oh, this is just kind of how we've always done. We want to be able to really evaluate and be able to put our kids in that best possible position, be successful, and our kids have responded really well. So there's a lot of critical self-evaluation that we do from that coaching staff perspective, and we honed in on those two aspects of the competitive excellence and the attention to details for our guys, and just trying to teach this game better and be able to get our kids in that best position to be successful.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. Just recently, you guys recently had your Mitchell Trubisky Youth Football Camp, and I get to see the excitement that the youth players really have being around a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, who won Ohio's Mr. Football back in 2012 with Mentor, and now being a QB at the NFL level. Just kind of talk about how that camp went for you guys, and what is it like for some of the youth players to kind of look up to a guy like Mitchell Trubisky, who was like a Mentor native and grew up into like being like a football player for them?
Absolutely. It was a tremendous experience last week. We went Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week. We had over 170 kids at the camp, and it was pretty special because I tried kind of capping the online registration at 150, but I got a lot of emails, phone calls, and texts from parents of, oh, can I sign my son up or my daughter up and be able to get them in. And Mitch is unbelievable. He's going into year 8 of playing in the NFL, and he's 30 years old, and he has every reason, not to come back and not to do this camp. And he always makes a point of emphasis. We always touch base early in his off season there in January, February time, and kind of get the date set in place. And he's there from 9 to 12. And he is awesome because he'll go through on our first day at camp. He'll take a picture with each and every single camper that is at that camp. And then we'll get those printed off there. And by Friday, he'll have every one of those autographed. So every kid will be able to get a picture with themselves and Mitch with that. And then when he's not either taking the picture, signing the autographs, doing that type of stuff, he is out interacting with the kids. And really just Mitch, he talked about it all the time last week and in the past with it. He grew up coming to this camp, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to put his name on that camp. And it's really our Mentor football camp that we've been able to use Mitch's name on that and really being able to draw up that interest with it. And like I said, had 170 last year, and it was pretty unique because we're going into our 100-year anniversary of our Mentor football program. We've now had 6 players with Nicky Samak getting drafted in the NFL, and Nicky was home last week, and he was actually up all 3 days as well too. So we had 2 of the 6 NFL players in Mentor history that were up at that camp, and they both as youngsters went through that youth camp and being able to talk to those guys and interact with those little guys. And I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention our high school guys, because pretty much every single one of our 9th through 12th graders were able to stay through that camp and really make it a fun, memorable experience. Because yeah, you have Mitchell Trubisky, NFL player that they look up to, but they also every single Friday night they see our guys running out there at the JTO, and they also those youth players, they look up, they idolize those high school guys and really want to make it a great experience. And our kids do an unbelievable job of making it a fun, great experience at that youth camp.
Well, that's a perfect segue to what I was going to get into. Some of the players last year had great seasons for you and really a lot of leadership. Talk a little bit about the offseason and some of the kids
that are coming back this year that you think are going to have an impact, and some younger kids that you think could step up and really contribute this upcoming season?
Yeah, absolutely. We knew kind of last year we were going to be a really young football team. At various points, we started 6 or 7 sophomores throughout the season. It was pretty much 6 every single week, and we had 1 or 2 other guys that got in there and rotated a good amount. But it helps to obviously always start with the signal caller there of having Scotty Fox back, who's now really going into his 4th year of starting football games. He started, I think it was 3 or 4 games there in 2021, and he's had the full reign since 2022 with that. And Scotty's had another great offseason where he really took a critical look of every aspect of it and sat down and really committed himself in the film room, weight room. He's gotten himself stronger, he's faster, and really talked about that impact of being a leader within the program. And so it really starts with him on the offense side of the football. You look at it, we have 4 guys at the receiver position that all have a significant amount of playing time, with Justin Hodge, who was our leading receiver last year. Austin Van Huss was an outside receiver for us as well, too. Those 2, I believe, were both over 700-plus yards receiving. Grant Cerny was inside and outside last year for us. Played in all 11 games for us, started, I believe, in 8 or 9 of those games. And then Marcus Serpatowski kind of was bit by the injury bug where he only played about 6 quarters last year, but he would have been one of our starting 4 last year if he battled a knee injury early on and then had a broken collarbone in the second quarter of the Medina game. So he played 3 quarters of the Riverside game and about a quarter and a half of the Medina game last year, and having his energy and his impact back. Jackson Farley in the backfield, we're really looking forward to him. He's put on probably about 10 to 15 pounds of muscle throughout this offseason, and that's a big jump between their sophomore to junior year, and physically he's taking those right steps. And offensive line-wise, we have about 4 guys with starting experience back, with our 2 juniors there with Landry Breedy and JoJo Laduca, who both garnered Division I interest there with it. And senior-wise, we have Burke DeMurchie, who's really started games in the last 3 years for us, and then Ben McWilliams, who was our 6th man last year, that started a couple games for us as well, too. So we have a lot of experience there coming back on the offense side of the football. Defense side of the football, it's really our front 6 to 7 that has a good amount of experience. Julian Solis was our most valuable defensive lineman last year, coming back for his senior year. Chase Coleman played a good amount at nose tackle last year, and Logan Holland is another 2B junior that got some good playing time last year. Our 2 inside linebackers, Caden Clare and Spencer Barninger, started all 11 football games for us. So that front of that defense really is definitely exciting. We're looking forward to some big things there with those guys. On the back end, Xavion Dunn started as a sophomore at corner, all 11 games for us last year, and had a lot of experience there. So there's a lot of pieces, and also, too, on the special teams, we returned both our kicker and our punter. Dylan Pickett is our kicker. He's going to be a 3-year starting kicker. That is just, he doesn't look like a kicker. He's put together there. He looks like he could be an inside linebacker for us. And Jacob Brown was our punter last year. So we're getting those guys back. We have our holder, who was Allison Van Huss, who's a receiver for us, and then our snapper, Tyler Stapleton, as well, too. So we have a good amount of guys back, and yeah, know what the expectations are going on Friday night. So we're definitely looking forward to that, and they understand the maturity and the focus that needs to go into it so we can be successful.
You must have had your kicker go to the Ed Dick school, because that's what Ed, that's what Ed was. Joe Tate, when he talked about Ed as a kicker at Mount Union, said, "Wow, this guy looks like he's a linebacker going out there. That's not a kicker." So I wondered if Ed was holding his own camp. I didn't know about it.
He is put together. He might be our first guy off the bus, because Dylan's awesome. He's a 4.0 student, and it's crazy because he made it to the state meet in swimming, and he's also a really good tennis player as well, too.
Oh, so wow.
He's football, swimming, and tennis.
Holy cow!
Yeah, so
that's a skill set you don't see very often.
That's impressive.
That is one of a kind right there.
And he could probably out squat about 80% of our football team too. So
I believe it. I believe it. He's probably in better. It's probably in better shape than most of them. Like no offense to to the football conditioning, but swimming and tennis is a whole nother monster.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. He was awesome this off season because we have our conditioning class that we have our guys in, and so he attacked that 45 minutes because it's their last period of the day, and before he had to go to either swimming practice or tennis practice, he attacked that 45 minutes like crazy, and he put together a heck of off season, and he's kicking really well too. So it's definitely exciting because we have, just as we're talking about with Dylan, we have so many great kids and just could count off a lot of examples like that, and that's what's exciting for it is, yeah, we have a lot of good football players coming back, but more importantly, they're great kids that do things the right way, they act the right way, they conduct themselves the right way, both in the weight room, on the football field, yes, but in the classroom, and more importantly in the community, and that's definitely really exciting.
Talking with Mentor head coach Matt Gray. Coach, as you're coming into your 5th season, it runs parallel, oddly enough, to Cleveland Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski. Both their guys' first years as head coaches were during the COVID year, so there's a lot of different set of challenges with that. So maybe COVID year aside, as you continue through your head coaching journey, what are some of the things, maybe 1 or 2 things that you've learned, from your experiences that you may want to try to implement this year, whether it's delegating or taking a step back or whatever the case is? What are 1 or 2 of those things that may come to mind for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And it's one of those where it probably was a good thing I was a first-year head coach going through that COVID process because we had to improvise on the fly. And that's something that really, going from assistant coach, offense coordinator to now head coach, that was one of the biggest things is the buck stops at you as a head coach and making the final decisions on all those. But there's going to be a new set of challenges each and every single day. Whether it could be some type of personnel decision, could be some type of discipline decision, some type of equipment, whatever it might be, of being able to evaluate and take everything in stride and be able to make sure that we always are putting our football program, mentor football program first, and taking that critical look of not just right now in the immediate, but also in the long-term aspect of it, of building a great youth to middle school to high school program, and being able to always keep that as the focus with that. And just one of those things where I have a great group of assistant coaches that do a tremendous amount, and very appreciative of all the work that they do, and they help out at the lower levels as well too, of being able to make sure any resource that those guys need at those lower levels, but also too of just being able to get our 10 through 12, our JV and our varsity programs in that best spot. And so trusting those guys, communicating with those guys, and just really just knowing and understanding as a head coach, it's going to be some type of new challenge each and every single day. It's pretty much a 24/7, 365 type of deal where it always goes, you never know how it's going to go with that. And we have great understanding what the expectations, what the standard is of the mentor football program. Our families have really bought into it, and very pleased with where we're at as a football program right now.
Well, Coach, as you're wrapping up the preseason here, the Mentor Cardinals. They start off with the Massillon Jackson Polar Bears in week 1. They are going to be coming to Jerome T. Osborne Stadium, and you got St. Ignatius at John Carroll. You got a pretty good look at them last year twice. Erie and McDowell comes to town, and then the Greater Cleveland Conference. There's no gimmies there. So I know, Coach, you're going to be ready to roll with the Mentor Cardinals, and we look forward to seeing how the preseason and the season progresses, and see if we can't get you and some of your kids on, some of the student athletes on over the course of the year.
Absolutely. That'd be great. Like I said, really appreciate you guys having me on here, and all that you guys do here to be able to get the information out about the great game of high school football here, and really all the sports that you guys cover too. You guys do a tremendous job of that. So really appreciate you. And that anything we can do to be able to help and promote our program, I'm all for it. So just let us know.
Thanks, Coach. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of the summer, what's left of it for you.
Enjoy the last 2 weeks of your summer break.
Yep, there's no doubt. We got a couple days around the 4th, and we'll get a couple days right before the 1st. So
there you go.
We're ready to roll.
There you go. Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
That
you.
that is Matt Gray, head coach of the Mentor Cardinals. Again, coming into his 5th season as the head coach at Mentor. He's been there since 2012. They got a really good squad coming back, as they always do. Another multi-year starting quarterback is Scotty Fox, and again, they will be hosting Massillon Jackson to start the season on Friday, August 23rd. We're going to go right from Mentor to another M school, Midview from Grafton. We are joined by second-year head coach from the MidviewMiddies. He graduated from Midview in 2012. He spent 6 of the last 7 seasons before becoming the head coach at Midview as an assistant coach to various roles. And we are very happy to be joined by Jack Armstrong from the MidviewMiddies. Coach Armstrong, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me.
Coach, coming into your second year, how's the offseason? How's this offseason going for you? Now that you have one year under your belt, now you got a full offseason cycle going into your second season. How's the offseason going for you as you're preparing for doubles coming up here?
Yeah, it's a great feeling to have a whole offseason being the head coach. The biggest thing is special shout out to Cody Florian, our strength and conditioning coach. Big things have happened. Lots of changes. The kids have bought in. They kind of drank the Kool-Aid and super excited. We're revving up for camp, and Midview's going in the right direction. That's for sure.
And Coach, with that, what are some of the biggest changes that you've noticed in the off season? What were some of the biggest changes that you noticed as far as kids buying into the off season program, or in some of the changes that you've been making?
So really, we just had camp today actually, and I was talking to the boys about this at the end of practice. I think a lot of the times, things that I observed in our society today is kids they want something and then they want to win it, but there's an in between, and that's work. And I think that the kids are finally starting to put in that work and really, like I said, drinking the Kool-Aid of what needs to be done. Because I'm blessed with a wonderful staff. I have Coach Crum, which has a lot of experience, and Coach Pazzarello. So I tell the kids, they buy into their systems. They buy in year 2. I mean, they're more comfortable. We're flying around. And I told them today, we kind of held their hands last year because it was a lot, and now we're flying around. So it's a great feeling. And I think that their expectations are to compete with everyone. And they are starting to understand that takes the offseason. And working to win is one of the emphases that I've brought up to the kids over and over again. They understand that average effort's a dirty word in the program now. And so is love. So that's what I tell the kids.
Coach, again, thank you for taking the time. I know, it's a busy time for every coach. One question I like to ask any coach going into their second year, and again, I don't really have a lot of familiarity with what system you guys were running before you took over as head coach versus what's going there now. Do you find that now that you're in your second year, you're not so much teaching the system, but you're more likely refining it, or there's a little bit more understanding with the vocabulary that you're able to kind of build on top of that foundation that you set last year?
For sure. We have the foundation set. Kids know it, and now we can add on and kind of add those wrinkles and focus even more on technique compared to scheme, because the kids have the scheme down. So now we're starting to really focus on the fine details to make us even better.
Coach, thank you again for taking the time and joining us tonight. Last year, you got into the playoffs for the first time since 2017, not counting the COVID year where everyone just got in. Just kind of talk about how your guys will build off of that playoff experience and how that will build off going into the 2024 season.
Yeah, I think that the big thing with us is that left the staff and the players, that playoff game left a sour taste in our mouths. Our expectation, as I've said before, I believe the FWC is one of the best, if not the best, conference in Ohio when it comes to D2 schools overall. So our expectations going into a great Medina Highland team that's well coached was to compete with them, and I think that we didn't. And that started with our practice week that week. I've made it clear with every player that we've met with, what do we need to do to change that? And that's to instead of just expecting to win on Friday nights, you got to put in work, which has been my message this entire offseason. The kids have really bought into that message. Our numbers are growing. We have what's called the Bear Club, where they do a 7-mile run, they do the hill, they do an obstacle course, and they go to the beach. And it is very difficult. And we had over 30 kids. So that's something I brought back that's been around since the early 2000s over a guy that was dearly dedicated to Midview football and would do anything for Midview football. So that's the background of what the Bear Club is, and we might not be the biggest school regarding numbers, but we're going to work our butts off and we're going to be tough.
Yeah, coach, and Midview has had success, and it's been a tough way to kind of get back to that. But how have your youth programs been, going and talking about bringing the Bear Claw back and some different things? Have your youth program, is it been developing? Have you had some pretty good numbers to kind of grow the program the way you want to?
Yeah, it's for sure. It's a progressive thing, and it's step by step. I think that first off, the middle school numbers this year, I think right now, I don't know officially, but we'll be around the 80s. And when it comes to the youth program, the parents, I'm from Midview, so that's part of the reasons why I went for this job. And I felt like I was ready to kind of put Midview on the map where it was consistently. And even when I'm done, it's going to be a good place where no matter what, they're going to compete, no matter what division, no matter what conference. And the big news for us this year was we dropped down to D3. But like I said, when I was interviewed earlier this year, we still have to compete in our conference to get to the playoffs. But when we do make the playoffs, I think that being in such a tough conference will allow us to be ready to roll once we make the playoffs. So when it comes to the youth, I think that we're going in the right direction. We had a great alumni where we brought Dustin Crum back, a kid named Josiah Holt, Dave DeFranco, Nick Crum, and they came in free camp. So we're definitely going in the right direction. But I'm one that I have a growth mindset. It's going to grow progressively, and I'm excited at the direction he's going. That's for sure.
Yeah, and all those guys you mentioned are great alumni that had really successful careers and did really well in college too. I know, Dustin Crum's the latest one, but a lot of players there that have experience that I think the players will probably look up to, for the upcoming season. Now, talk a little bit about some of the players you had last year. You had some injuries last year, but your team really competed and put up some good offensive numbers during the season. Talk a little bit about some of the players you had that had big seasons last year that will be coming back this year.
Yeah, I think that to start off with the seniors, we got Cameron West, Dior Jones, Frost Worthy, Nathaniel Schenberger, Makai Massey, Wyatt Lehman, and Max Scott. They're all seniors. They have experience. I'm super excited to have them back. And with that comes another year in our systems. So with people like Dior and Cameron West and Frost Worthy, that allows us to be more flexible and add more on. And not only that is we have a very experienced, very deep junior class. So we had Michael Pazzarello, which was like master and commander of our defensive backfield. He was a very, very good safety. Braden Amoki, you guys are going to hear his name a lot. Zachary Wallace, you're going to hear his name a lot. Camden Scott's a senior, and then Marcus McMahon. But we're definitely going with the experience in the large junior class. I'm very excited about this year because some of these sophomores that are now juniors had to step up because our numbers weren't that high. And I think it's really going to pay off this year.
We're talking with Midview head coach Jack Armstrong. Coach, as you're, as you mentioned last year, while the playoff game didn't go the way you wanted to, excuse me, I lost my voice throwing pitches at my kid for T-ball games. So you had some good victories in the non-conference against some tough Cleveland West Conference schools and whatnot. A big win against North Ridgeville, which you could argue probably propelled you into the playoffs. And you played Olmsted Falls really, really tough at the end of the year. Olmsted Falls has been in that upper echelon in the SWC for quite a while. So although the playoff game didn't go the way you wanted it to, I think there was a lot of positives to take away, especially from your first season in the system.
Oh, absolutely. I think that with that, like I said, we're progressively growing into what we need to be. And with last season, you can reflect on it. You can learn. I'm a second-year coach. I'm still learning. People are always flexible with me, and that's what's nice. I have an amazing staff. It has a lot of experience, and with that, like this year, to be honest, we have a wonderful quarterback competition between three quarterbacks, and that's a good thing. sometimes in some years at a smaller school, you might only have one quarterback to rely on. And then when there's an injury, then you're in trouble because you're putting in someone that's not ready just because you don't have the numbers. This year is not the case. It is a wide open battle. The kids are getting after it. So it's something super exciting. I always tease Coach Crum about being a quarterback whisperer. So for him to have three that have a legitimate shot of starting, it's something super exciting at Midview. And luckily, even though we don't have high numbers, we do have quite a bit of linemen. So our goal is to have no one going both ways, which I think is attainable. Um, Now that being said, if we have an injury, someone probably end up playing both ways. But right now, we're going in a really good direction and building upon last year. So these kids have that mindset of, hey, we're going to go put in that work to win, and they're continuing to support my staff, our staff. And Midview's a great place. Midview has great supporters. Admin's great. Parents are great. Community's great. And like I tell everyone, Midview's kind of special because we don't have a rec center. It's a hodgepodge of a bunch of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
So people get together. When people get together for sports, there's nothing like Friday Night Lights at Adelberg Stadium in Ross Field, honestly. So it's great.
I could second that because that's one of the top atmospheres I get whenever I get to cover a Midview game. There's one thing I know: it's going to be loud, and they're going to yell at me to get out of the way because I'm probably blocking somebody from filming or something. Because just the way that it's everywhere. I mean, it's a fantastic atmosphere that you guys got down there, and it's a lot of fun to come watch a game. And no matter if you guys are having a down season or up season, it's there's a buzz in that stadium every Friday night. You mentioned it. It's very much a community type thing. There's a lot of support there for the kids and for the program and the band and everything. So it's a fantastic event and a fantastic buzz on the field if you get an opportunity to go watch a Midview game. I tried to go to the Midview North Ridgeville game. Unfortunately, I think I was out of town, but I think I was told I missed a good one. Which I'm a little upset because I like to go to those because those are right by where I live. So I like to go to those are my rivalry games I like to go to.
Oh, yep, it's there this year, so it's exciting. That's another thing. Like in our conference, it's great because the expectations to compete. Like we expect to beat Ridgeville every year. We expect to compete with Avon. We expect to compete with Avon Lake. It's just an expectation here, and I think we had a couple down years, and that's one thing that with the buy-in, kind of just listening to the words and trusting in the coaches and believing, I think we're getting in the right direction where we believe that we can compete with whoever we go against. So that's a good feeling, and it's a good environment, and you can definitely feel things changing.
Now, Coach, did you in your first season? I know you were on the staff for a while. Was it going pretty fast for you, or were you able to? Did you think the game really calmed down and slowed down for you as you kind of went on throughout the year? Because I know it's a different ball game being an assistant coach and then being the head guy. Did it slow down as the year went for you a little bit?
I wouldn't say that, just because I think that at Midview, we don't start until after September, the beginning of September at school. So it was actually kind of nice for me being a first-time head coach, the way our school schedule works.
Okay.
But I think it was just flying. I had a kid in March, so my wife was pregnant. I was busy with that stuff.
Oh, man.
So no matter what.
So you were going on probably very little sleep, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, right now he's 4 months old, so I'm actually running on less sleep now than I was then. But it's good.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Coach, you're a young guy. You can handle it.
That's right. And some coffee, maybe 2 or 3 times a day, and I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Little nap at school, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't tell my wife that. Just sleep on the feet.
You know, and Coach, with you, I mean, being that you graduated from Midview in 2012, so you are a little bit on the younger end than some of the other coaches that are in the area. How do you think that helps you out as far as being able to relate to the kids, because you're not as far removed from that as maybe some of the other coaches that are in the area?
Oh, for sure. I think truly the biggest advantage is that I'm young and I'm from the district that I'm coaching at. So I'm just like these kids. I know how it works. I know the different backgrounds, and Midview's got a bunch of different backgrounds with all the different areas that we have kids come into. So I think that is a major strength. And with my weaknesses, my veteran staff really helped me hold me accountable and continue to build upon that. I'm one to always admit when I'm wrong. I'm always one to admit when I need to do stuff better, and they hold me accountable too. So it's a great feeling because I know that every day their expectations for me to be my best, and that's a great thing because my expectations for everyone else to be their best, so that everyone can be the best versions of themselves. So it's an awesome feeling, and I'm grateful to have the energy I do, so that I can turn this puppy around because I do believe that maybe we'll be back. Um, Obviously, we'll have our ups and downs, but I think with the correct mindset, we can make a little bit of noise for sure.
So when they told you got the job, did you go home and jump up and down and go crazy? I mean, was it a pretty exciting time for you just to know that you're going back to the school that you played for?
Yeah, I was very excited to be honest, and I have a lot of father figures at Midview. So my first instincts after I told my wife and my family was I reached out to like my old line coach when I was at Midview. I reached out to Coach Albright, Coach Shaw was one of my closest friends, Coach Strebel, Coach Crum. Like it was just a great feeling, and truly, I went for it because it was at Midview, and I really am dedicated to bringing Midview back to what it is and giving these kids the opportunity to feel what I felt. Because in 2012, when we lost to Avon, when they were the state runner-ups, and we kind of set that expectation and it kind of set them on the road to expect to win and expect to compete against the top dogs. So I want that to come back, and I want that to be consistent many, many years after I'm gone. So it's super exciting.
Very cool.
And the road to that starts with a week 1 matchup. You're going to host Westlake on Friday, August 23rd. It is not too far away from here, but I'm sure coach is going to get the players ramped up, get through some 2-a-days, some 7-on-7s and scrimmages, and be ready to roll. Coach, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to us, and hopefully we'll certainly be out to a game at some point this year, and we'll see if we can get either you or some of your student athletes onto the show as the season progresses.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, thanks, Coach. Great talking to you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Go Middies.
That is the head coach of the Midview Middies, Jack Armstrong, joining us. He is going to be going into his second season as the head coach of the Midview Middies. They will start off their season against Westlake. They will then take on North Olmsted, and then they will travel to Elyria Catholic. So a lot of Great Lakes Conference / Great Cleveland West Conference influence there. They have the same exact schedule as they had last year. Very, very localized, very regionalized, and then obviously the tough SWC schedule, which we've talked about this for years with the SWC. Even if a team doesn't have the best record on paper, every game is going to be tough. Olmsted Falls and North Ridgeville certainly found that out last year. North Ridgeville got beat by them, and Olmsted Falls, they got all they can handle right before the playoffs. And Midview has been, they've been a team that you cannot take lightly. And with Coach Armstrong in his second year, starting to get that program back to where he was and where he wants it to be, they're certainly going to be a tough out. And especially if they are able to get into the playoffs, Division III, Region 10 is where they now reside. And there's some tough schools in there, make no mistake. But I would challenge most of those other schools to play the schedule that Midview will have played by the time that rolls around, Rob.
Yeah, looking at a team like Westlake, they went 7-4 last year. I mean, and they did beat Midview to start the season, but North Olmsted had a little bit of a down season. But I mean, the SWC is so tough, and like you mentioned, and I thought you made a great point that at the end of the season when they faced Olmsted Falls and they beat Elyria, they beat North Ridgeville. Those are teams that, in the end of the season, this team might have started to figure some things out offensively and defensively because they really put up some points in those games. But Coach Armstrong, it's his first season, so there's going to be some bumps in the road. But I think they have a lot of talent. Midview's always been very athletic and very tough when you look at their players. So I think I'm excited to see what they can do this year. North Ridgeville's another team that They beat, and North Ridgeville I thought was on the up and up. With under Coach Morgan, they struggled at one point, a few years ago, and then it seems like they've been rolling a little bit. So I think Midview's kind of in the same boat as them. They're very similar that way, and that should be a really great game this year. But excited to see what Midview can do under Coach Armstrong. Just a great guy. He's a young guy that has a lot of enthusiasm going and trying to change this program for the better.
Well, I think if you look at the Southwestern Conference overall, it's better when, Midview is good. It's better when North Ridgeville is good. That makes that conference, and he's not wrong. I mean, you put the Southwestern Conference up against any conference in the state, and I imagine it's going to be at least in the top 5. I would venture to say probably top 3, because it's just a lot of great teams come out of there. And we're not just talking about Avon. We're not just talking about Avon Lake. Olmsted Falls is there. For a while, Amherst was there. They were down a little bit. Midview, now teams like North Ridgeville, all these teams are starting to get better because they realize that conference is setting them up for success. That schedule is providing them an opportunity during the season to get themselves ready for a playoff run.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to benefit a team like Midview, who has to drop down to the Division 3, having to go against a top tier Division 1 school like a Berea Mid Park with a lot of offense, having to play Avon Lake, which are the perennial Division 2 powerhouses in this area, having to play Olmsted Falls. That's gonna, if they can take care of their non-conference and get themselves in a playoff position, which I imagine from a point standpoint they would have to be. I mean, just let's say you split those wins, Ed, you're going to make the playoffs. I mean, obviously you want to beat everyone there, but if you come out of there at 5-5 with that schedule, you're got to be at least making the playoffs. I think with a 6-4 or maybe even a 7-3 record, if they can eke one out, I mean, look at that, and you could be hosting a playoff game, and nobody wants to go play at Midview in a playoff game. I mean, I wasn't kidding when I wanted to mention the same thing to Menor. Those atmospheres that they create, these are perennial teams that are constantly good, that the community rallies around, and they show up and they cheer, and it's loud. There's been times where I'm at these games, and Noah, you could speak to it, Rob, you could speak to it, like it's deafening, but then there's also times where it just doesn't hit, and it may be the teams, it may be whatever, but like I've never been to a Midview game and not had issues with being able to hear what's going on because it's so loud. Same thing with Menor. That's what we bring here from Sports Time. That's what we're trying to highlight is these football teams, these programs are, the fabric of the community, and you really see that on Friday nights in the fall here. And I think what's exciting is we're kind of turning the corner now into that schedule. And man, if you're not excited for some high school football, for some college football, for some pro football, for football in general, I don't know what to tell you. But what I can tell you is if you are looking for football coverage, there's only one place to look, and that's Sports on Tap. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. We are just kicking off our football coverage for the year. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have our weekly shows. We're going to break it down. Ed's going to bring all kinds of algorithms, and he's gonna. I want beakers in the background. I want a chalkboard back there. I want him to be frantically trying to figure out. Him and Joe Idle want to have a rivalry, but I mean, we're going to be out there covering the game, so we are getting pumped for high school football, and there's only one place to see it, and that's on our YouTube page. You got to smash that notifications bell. You got to hit subscribe. You got to know where you're going with us, so that way you don't miss anything we're bringing to the table. Because there is no one better in the state of Ohio to bring you high school football the way Sports on Tap brings you. There, we are second to none in this great game of sports. So,
and nobody has a hype man like we have. Nobody. I'll put Sean Duffy up against anybody. Nobody's gonna hype Sports on Tap's coverage like him, ever.
Because it's the easiest sell in the world.
That's
Rob.
right,
it's
man.
The easiest sell in the world. I'm not saying anything that isn't true.
That's right.
As Sean mentioned, with Midview dropping down to Division 3, their output last year would have gotten into the playoffs in Division Three, Region 10. They would have qualified number 15th. They would have bumped Revere
Okay.
down. They would have bumped Revere down to number 16. And they would have had a pretty tough matchup against Norton in the first round. But nonetheless, you get in the game, you get in the playoffs. That's really all you need to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, Division Three, Region 10 is no joke. Toledo Central Catholic lives there. They're
Ooh.
okay.
Yeah, they're kind of
Well,
good.
do they live there this year though? Are they there this year? Or are they?
I think
are
it's
they up?
this year, aren't they?
I believe they are still there. I have to check the
'Cause
numbers.
They bounce between Division Two and Division Three, seemingly almost every other year.
They do. I wasn't looking for them specifically, but if we're talking like just last year, generally speaking, Rocky River was there, Buckeye,
Oh,
Norton,
wow. All right.
Columbian, Mansfield Senior.
There's a lot of good
They got
teams.
some. They got some. There's some pretty solid teams in Division Three, Region 10.
And
And
Midview could be
playing-
one of
those
them.
are teams. Those are teams that are getting wins. I'm not saying it's a lesser schedule. Toledo Central Catholic plays a very tough schedule. I am not minimizing what they do. But it's to your point, Sean and Rob. The SWC will prepare them for Division Three, Region 10 very efficiently. They're not going to be any teams there that they're going to be scared of because they play Avon. And
Yeah, that's. I mean,
Avon,
yeah.
they make it to the Final Four every year. So like there's not many teams, maybe besides Toledo Central Catholic, that are going to play that are better than Avon, and even that's arguable when those two teams get together. So,
And I think even some of the down teams, like Amherst was down, but they have a quarterback, Cole Norris, coming back this year, and Coach Thome there. I thought they had an impressive season, even though their record might show they were in a lot of games, and I think that's a team to maybe look out for improving. Elyria has Coach Wilson there to see if he could turn it around. There's a lot of teams I feel like that are on the up and up. Berea Mid Park and Olmsted Falls, Avon Lake, those teams are always there, and then Avon is at the top. Who can catch Avon and kind of, I don't know if it would be an upset if they beat them, but at this point maybe, because I don't know the last time anybody's really beaten Avon. It's been a tough go to get to them, but there's been some close games. Olmsted Falls has been there in Avon Lake, but can any other teams come close and kind of narrow that gap? It's going to be fun to see this year.
the last thing I'll mention too, we'll go back to Menor real quick before we wrap up. Menor, their off season or their non-conference schedule is Massillon Jackson, St. Ignatius, Erie McDowell, and then River Rouge, and then they play the GCC. With defending champion Cleveland Heights as your defending champions there, and they have Johnny Davis coming back. Mr. Everything, scores 8 touchdowns a game, has 3 picks a game. You have a tough Medina squad there. Shaker Heights had a really good year last year until they ran into the big boys. Strongsville, Brunswick, new head coaches, still trying to find their footing a little bit. And then next year, Lorraine comes into the fold as a member of the GCC. So that's an old Lake Erie League rivalry that's going to come back there. Menor, as Coach Gray mentioned, losing 4 games by a total of 9 points. 2 of those losses both coming to St. Ignatius. I think with Scotty Fox coming back for his senior year, a very, very experienced group. Another year under the belt for Coach Gray. Menor is... We're going to find they have a very tough non-conference schedule, but once they get into the conference play, it's going to be tough to take them down. And I think Coach Ray's kind of been alluding to this last few years. It's, they haven't been where they are used to being, and teams have been able to get them. I think Coach Gray is ready to start getting some of those wins back, especially in the regular season, preparing for the Division I, Region I playoffs. Noah can probably speak to that more, being the GCC guy here.
Yeah, definitely, Ed. And I feel like those 2 St. Ignatius games really fuel them to come back and get ready for this season. I mean, twice they had a chance to tie or win the field goal with 3 seconds to go, and they didn't have it. And that really fueled a lot of guys to come back this season. Like talking about the quarterback, Sky Fox is coming back, Austin Van Huss, Justin Hodge, Dylan Tackett, you can name it. And as far as the GCC, I'm the first year at Cleveland Heights, they won the conference. Everyone kind of expected that, and then Shaker Heights really up and coming like as a team, like Trey McKnight, Cornell Beard, they had a really impressive year going in 7-4. And then as far as Medina, they've always kind of been like the standard in the GCC the last 5 years, going into the playoffs, making the regional finals 3 of the last 4 years. And then Brunswick and Strongsville, like you said, had two new head coaches, Coach Jason Trustic and Coach Krokar, according to their first year into the new systems. And then Lorraine will be coming into the GCC next year, will make you very important and very competitive going into next year. So, yeah, kind of like what Coach Gray said, those first 3 games will be challenging and really be able to ready to get these guys going as they head into week 4 at the start of the GCC level.
Absolutely. And so with that, we're gonna wrap it up here for the this version of the Sports on Tap Summer Spotlight. We will continue on with our shows most likely on Monday nights. We will try to get and make sure you check out some of our other content. Noah's been putting out some other content as well. Speaking with some coaches and players outside of this format, but make sure you're checking out Noah's information as well and his content. Make sure you follow us again. Make sure you're watching us right now live on YouTube at our Sports on Tap page. Make sure you like and subscribe. Get the notifications when we're about to go on the air. Make sure you follow us on Twitter /X at SOT Podcast. We're on Facebook at Sports on Tap, where our website is sportsontappodcast.com. We are also on Spotify, so if you can't view us, you can watch us, you can listen to us on Spotify as well. And on Threads, we're at SOT_podcast. And our email address is sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want, any suggestions, any coaches you want us to talk to, and when the season starts, players you want us to talk to, shoot us a line there, and we'll certainly take consideration and see if we can't take care of you there. Make sure you stick around for another word from our sponsors. Another tremendous show. We want to thank Coach Gray from Mentor and Coach Armstrong from Midview, checking us to be able to take some time out of their busy schedule to join us tonight. For Rob Troutman, Noah Jacobson, Professor Hype himself, Sean Duffy. In a minute since we had it, so I was missing it. Josh Jeff, assignment. My name is Ed Dick, and we will see you on the other side.
Sports on Tap Summer Spotlight is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
Hand and built leather goods. Leather goods built for life. Made by hand in the USA, all goods are made with veg-tanned leather. Some of the best quality around and made by a U.S. veteran. Check out their website, www.handbuiltleather.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com.